Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before I begin today, a big thank you to Joe for the virtual gift voucher. Thank you very much, my friend, for the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you. But on to today. Today we're taking a look at the traitor legion of the Word Bearers, how their infighting is leading them onto the brink of a civil war, and how the return of the Primarch Lorgar could be the only saviour. General spoiler warning to begin, as I will be discussing events from across the lore, from the current timeline to the Horus Heresy, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. So the Bearers of the Word, once upon a time the most fanatical of the Emperor's followers, only to be chastised for their worship and turned to the path of damnation. Now, since the heresy, as many of you will be aware, Lorgar, Primarch of the Word Bearers, has been largely out of the picture, locked away within his temple upon the demon world of Sicarus, deep in meditation. And during his absence, the remnants of the Word Bearers Legion has been led by the Dark Council, a collection of the most powerful leaders within the Legion. And on this council, there are two who hold more power than the rest, who shape the future of the Legion more than any of the others. Firstly, Erebus, the man responsible for turning Lorgar and then Horus to the path of chaos. And second, Kor Phaeron, the Keeper of the Faith, foster father of Lorgar himself. Now, with the Primarch's absence, all of the Dark Council have been fighting a cold war of sorts for control of the Legion for quite some time. But the true contest is only between these two major players. Only Erebus or Kor Phaeron truly have the opportunity to swing things in their favour. And during the Space Marine Conquest novel Apocalypse, we are given a little insight into the latest motives and efforts of these two, from two of their devoted followers, who are arguing out their dispute. You know well enough of what, of whom I speak. Erebus licks the War Master's boots and hinders the efforts of his own brethren. He fixed Lakmu with a steady eye. Deny it if you like. I know the truth. Kor Phaeron's truth. As I said, I know the truth. Sophistry. Amatnim laughed. Perhaps you're right. But I notice you do not deny my assumption, because you know in that, at least, I am right. He tapped Lakmu's chest. Erebus's loyalties have always been suspect, and his faith is decidedly self-centered. And then further in their conversation we get, "You are wrong, you know," he said, choosing his words carefully. "I have questioned Kor Phaeron often. He at least holds to those traditions, unlike Erebus. Erebus does what the gods ask of him, and only that. And they ask him to serve Abaddon then, to keep us weak so that we cannot threaten the War Master's claims of ascendancy?" It was an old accusation, almost ritual at this point. Some word bearers believed it to be gospel. Others thought it simply one allegation amid thousands of similar claims. The members of the Dark Council had spent centuries waging a war of contention with each other. Abaddon was chosen by the gods, Lakmu began. "As were we," Amatnim said. "Are you any less faithful than Abaddon? You speak dismissively of one the gods have chosen to enact their will, and Erebus does not, when he thinks the War Master's spies aren't listening." So obviously, with such a zealous legion, both sides spouting their righteousness is no surprise. However, it certainly appears that Erebus is to all intents and purposes hitching his ride to Abaddon's coattails. And the fact that his own follower hesitates when questioned about this, regarding Erebus following Abaddon because he is chosen, or for more selfish reasons, is quite telling. Erebus is siding with Abaddon for what appears to be personal gain. Whether it is to gain full control of his own legion, with the War Master's backing, or to further his own position under the eyes of the Pantheon, who knows? Hopefully time will tell. But it's certainly a risky tactic to say the least. Abaddon has no love lost for the other traitor legions. The second he is no longer useful, or worse still, betrays Abaddon, there would absolutely come punishment, in overwhelming force. Whereas on the other hand, Corferon's position appears to be much more limited to re-establishing the Wordbearer's position by their own means, to not be a lapdog to Abaddon, regardless of his position of War Master of Chaos. Corferon wants the Wordbearers to be their own men, to re-establish their dominance as a legion, because they are the chosen of the gods, not Abaddon. The Wordbearers were first to bend the knee to the Pantheon, and so they are the chosen children. And toward this effort, Corferon has been active very recently during the Psychic Awakening campaign, forging his own alliance with Iron Warriors and Night Lord warbands to invade the Imperium in the Telidus War. And while ultimately he wasn't successful, the fighting is far from over. So the question for us now is, where is this going to go? The likelihood of seeing an out-and-out full-blown civil war is unlikely, though undoubtedly would be fantastic reading. And if it were to ever occur, I would love Josh Reynolds to get to write it, as the Wordbearers he portrayed in Apocalypse were by far and away the best Wordbearer characters I have read since the days of the Heresy. Now there's also Erebus's seemingly loyalty to Abaddon, and while I don't doubt Abaddon couldn't care less about Wordbearers killing other Wordbearers, it does give the impression of Erebus having a serious ally in his corner. Whether it's actuality or not, perception is reality. If you were to use just the eye test, Erebus certainly seems to be in an unquestionable position of strength. So while it's unlikely to reach open warfare on a Legion scale, I do believe it will continue to move forward with further plots and schemes between the two, acted out within the galaxy on a Wordbearer chessboard, so to speak, the two moving and countering their pawns against each other, both vying for the blessing of the Pantheon. Until, of course, the Urizen himself returns, Lorgar. Because quite simply, as powerful as either of the power brokers may be within the Legion, the second the Primarch himself emerges from his self-imposed confinement, all bets are off. Every single Wordbearer is bending the knee to the Primarch. The Wordbearers for the most part are still a unified Legion, and no one, not Erebus, not Corferon, can match the presence of the Primarch. And while Lorgar is absolutely loyal to the Pantheon of Chaos Gods as a whole, and thus you would assume a supporter of Abaddon's efforts, he's still a Primarch. The Primarch who tried to betray Horus Lupercal at the height of his powers, trying to claim the heresy for himself. Lorgar is not following Abaddon, no matter what. If there's one thing all the Primarchs suffer with, it's pride. So Erebus's efforts will all be for naught, and indeed, he might not be best placed were his Primarch to re-emerge out onto the playing field. Is it likely for Lorgar to return? Well, it's definitely moving there slowly. We know GW certainly likes to drag out Primarch returns. We've been waiting on Fulgrim for years now. But we've seen Lorgar emerge briefly to go toe to toe with his brother Corax within the Eye of Terror. And if we're honest, got his butt kicked so bad he had to turn tail and run. But the short story did leave us with the open end of Corax informing Lorgar that he is coming for him in a very Liam Neeson Taken style. I have your scent now, and I will come for you. And then the big one, with the founding of the Ecclesiarchy having been proven to be based on Lorgar's own teachings, and that Rabute Gilliman knew about it. This is a storyline that just has to be carried on. And how can it not end with a Lorgar-Gilliman reunion? It just has to. How will Lorgar react to the sight of his father the Emperor basically having become the god he always claimed him to be? Man, I can't wait to see that. Honestly, I think Lorgar could just drop down and weep at the sight of it. And I'm not even joking, that's not a dig. But back on track. In order for this to happen, the word bearers absolutely need to be a unified force. There is no way Lorgar would be back without the full force of the Legion behind him, which means an end to the Civil War storyline. And that's really the only way I can see the word bearers' tensions ending. The continuation of the rivalries, the continuation of the tensions and schemes, possibly boiling up to more physical actions taking place between the two sides, even up to the verge of ripping what remains of the Legion in half, only for Lorgar to return and bitch slap the both of them just in the nick of time, and reclaim his position and rightful place as ruler of his Legion. How long will it take? Well, Necrons have certainly taken centre stage for now, but the Ecclesiarchy and Emperor's Ascension storyline was a very central theme before the new edition, so I absolutely expect that to remain integral and come back into focus as the new edition continues. It's just going to be a wait and see. But as always guys, what do you think? Do you think we could see a winner within the Cold War? Could it reach open civil war? And would it take the return of Lorgar to bring the Wordbearers Legion back under a unified control? Or is it too late? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.